When an individual is wronged by another, it's helpful to recognize the following analogy. It's very often that an individual that's an oppressor oppresses another. The individual that's oppressed absorbs the toxin of the oppressor. It's akin to being bitten by a snake and being affected by the venom, or acquiring a disease, a virus. Over here, what we're talking about, in the biblical archetypes, there was this idea that, individuals are supposed to be in a heightened state of connectivity to eternity. So if they're around a dead body, then they have to go through some kind of purification because they were in contact with the human body as a thing. And they were divorced from an expression of eternity. So they're rendered callous. This callousness breaks within them their conduit to an eternal expression, and they need to go through a renewal. When an individual is, so to speak, spiritually infected, they're rendered callous. And that callousness robs them of their authentic self. And so when an oppressor oppresses a victim, all too often the victim is rewired in the oppression. If you speak to a clinician, they will tell you it's very often that when they interview an individual that is a predator, this individual somehow was miswired in the way they process empathy and pleasure because of something that happened within their developmental years, a trauma that they experienced that changed the way they interpret pleasure. And so therefore, the victim becomes the oppressor. How often is it in this world that we find individuals do terrible things and they say it's a dog-eat-dog world? Well, it's not a dog-eat-dog world. It's just you happen to have been a dog that was eaten by a dog. And so you bite another. But you didn't like getting bitten. But because you were bitten, you bite the other. And the cycle continues. And the poison is absorbed and rendered still further to another and another and another callous soul. The reason why we forgive, first and foremost, is to forgive the self. Without forgiveness, you are not you, and you are lost. If you cannot muster the strength to forgive another, recognize that you need forgiveness in order to be you. In order so you can feel. In order so you can be energetically dynamic again. In order that you can reclaim your innocence and your creativity and your wonder of what can be. For not to forgive is to surrender all of it. You will have no creativity. You will have a devoid of sensitivity. And you'll be unable to truly love. Energetically, the oppressor goes and affects the victim. And the victim becomes the oppressor. And the cycle continues. Unless what? Unless the victim goes into a space of freedom and recognizes that they are not a victim. And if they recognize they're not a victim, then the venom that was transferred was not venom, but was passion. And that passion can be redirected retroactively once acquired. That passion is a passion for a reacclimation towards intimacy, and the spark and the light of that ignition changes the entire construct. And the bond that the oppressor had upon the victim is a connectivity that retroactively can be reversed to the degree that the individual who enters a space of freedom, of true forgiveness, which is gratitude, can elicit an awakening within the oppressor. Retroactively. Forgiveness is interdimensional. That's how we stop the process. And we start a new chain reaction. The depression could be all the straw in the world. Compassion is a spark. The more depression there is in the world, the more fodder it is for the flame. And so instead of ruining the oppression, understand the elasticity of the situation and be grateful that we live in a space where a spark can be rendered into a powder cake and freedom shall burn.